What's going on? I just noticed that the last screen was incorrect. It said episode 36 weekly analysis. We're not doing that. We're doing top down, or we're doing this weekly review though. So let's get it cracking. We're starting off with the dollar. We're gonna go very fast today. Today is gonna be like, this is how I look at it by myself if I'm not really talking to anyone. But I do want to just point out the monthly candles did close. We did get a bullish candle here close on the monthly. But on this weekly candle here, very much a bullish week the week before, and then we just closed with kind of a rather bearish week. We held at this level that we drew at the beginning of the week. Everything we drew was at the beginning of the week. We drew it last Friday. So price held under this little supply area. You can see it on the daily a little bit. This is the yearly profile, and it looks like this year so far we a little bit imbalanced at the top. So I could see the market still coming down. There's not really much here though. It's kind of in a range. If we go down into the 4 hour, you can see that this has been this month so far of March, a couple of days into it, and really there's not much to read right here. This point of control from January is still here, so that is something that I do think that's where the market's probably going to head. If we are looking at it from a volume perspective, it looks like, it did reject here and looks like it could be coming down. Now, if it does break this area, we're most likely still coming up into that level to the upside there. It looks like this week, and here we go. You can see how this week's profile turned out, and it's a very, very balanced profile. Unlike the week before where it was kind of just one straight move, this week was a lot of kind of sideways movement. So what I'm expecting next week is either the market is going to hold at this value level here, the bottom of this value level kind of, which is where it's almost at, and then make a move up into this next area of volume, or it's going to slide, breaking last week's low, and head into the 103 area where the volume was currently at from, let's see, the month of February. So this whole month of February, this is where the most volume is sitting, and that's where I expect ultimately, that's going to be kind of my next strike area to wait to buy. I don't think I'm going to get any clean buys up into here. It would be, waiting for this area. And then ultimately, long term, if it breaks here, this would be the next area. But these are kind of just, the next areas of liquidity. Easier to spot them like that with these point of controls. All right, let's get into the next. We didn't really go over the euro or anything last week. We just kind of said everything is going to be opposite of the dollar. And it really kind of went that way. The pound showed a little bit more strength this week than anything. It did hold at this demand level. And, until it breaks this, I'm expecting it to get, all the way back up into this level. Just pretty easy. The Aussie is kind of sideways. It's showing its weakness compared to all of them. And then we have the Swiss, which had a nice little run up this week. I like to just keep it on the 1 hour, really, to see the whole weekly profile here. Kind of sideways, actually, that you see now on the weekly. So Aussie sideways, pound, it had the move up and then down and then up again. And then the euro actually kind of looks the strongest if you look at it from a profile standpoint. And then we have the yen, which kind of went sideways as well. All right, we have the VIX here. And we didn't mark anything up on the VIX, but I do want to take a look at it because we're getting some monthly closures here. And that's not necessarily the close I wanted to see for the VIX to hold this level, to make this big move up. And, ultimately it's probably going to sweep these lows out and then make a move up. It's just what it does. The VIX has this interesting M pattern that it creates. It might be done with it, already. It's breaking this neckline of the M, and what it likes to do, you can go back and back test it yourself, but it will create an M. It will break the neckline of the M, and then it will make a move up. And currently, and it will do it in all type of time frames, in all type of ways, really. So there's not really the cleanest way to back test it. You just kind of got to go back in time and look at it. But right now, we are getting somewhat of a macro M, and then here would be the neckline, and we're starting to break it. I do think we're going to come down in here and then make another pop out of here. What that's going to do to the indices is it's going to make the indices most likely pop and then drop. But let's kind of look and see what we marked off on the S&P last week. Very bullish candle in a very bullish area. So we marked this area off saying it needs to break here, kind of. Never broke this area completely. Let's look at it on the daily first. And we're talking about these supply candles and how the volume really wasn't crazy on them. Let's see here. We got a lot of untested volume that got hit. So let's go down to the 4 hour. See if I can kind of spot out what I was marking off here. It looks like they were lower time frame, untested volume levels that got hit here. Yeah. So this was actually interesting. So to start the week off, so we have the weekly profile here, which, started the week off bullish, came down, was bearish, and then ended very bullish, right? So here's an interesting spot. It did come right into the point of control of last week, held, and made the big move down. That was like the biggest push before kind of this happened, which that's this type of trades that we want to be looking for. So that happened on Monday towards the end of the session. So just something to keep in mind, that when that point of control gets hit from the previous week, if you're bearish, that's a really good opportunity for you right there. So next week, since we will most likely be bullish on this now, since we're just kind of getting a complete shift here, break of structures here, just everything's kind of shifting right here, big shift in the MACD, I will be expecting, this point of control from last week to hold, or at least get hit and then hold as some support eventually. So that will be what we're looking for there. And then there's still a whole bunch of volume up here that hasn't been tested. So that's most likely where the market is going to go. And at that point, we're going to have a big fib that we're going to get to look at. But we'll look at that more on a weekly analysis. This is kind of just looking at what these weekly profiles are doing and what the week did to see if there was any opportunities. You can see how, the dollar really didn't do a whole lot, but the indices kind of did more. We had this move down here, and there was just no follow through with the momentum. Another spot to look at is when these lows were breaking, and it was this big zone is kind of being in question to see if it's going to hold or not. This is what the volume was looking like, right? Very dry. When a market breaks a low in an important area, if it's a real break, it needs to show volume. And it needs to be a little bit bigger than that, to be honest. And it didn't. So that was kind of the momentum failure and volume signature failure. Another thing that I want to point out is at the end of a trend, at the end of a trend, when the market's been going down, 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 or up, 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 and then you see a volume spiking, that is like a profit-taking volume spike. And you see the highest volume that we had in the whole move down was right there. So that was kind of the initial, hey, we're getting out, and then the retail kept selling, but there was no real volume with this. There was no real conviction. And then ultimately the bulls stepped in and took it over. So that's just a good signature to look at. When the market was down here, this point of control, I believe, was still way up there. And so that's just a really good signature to watch for. We're getting momentum slowing down here, momentum slowing down here, and volume as the market dropped. The volume did not increase until we started to pick up to the upside. Then that kind of showed you the bulls were in play as we just took out this major supply very quickly. Came back into the point of control, balanced, and now, since it's at the most traded price of the week, it took off. A little pullback. You see the low volume pullback here? Low volume pullback, and then once it breaks that point of control, it took off. So just some interesting signatures to look at here. Let's see if it'll back me up. Nope. Okay. So let's see here. Nope. Okay, it's not letting me do what I want. So let's just go to the next pair, which is NASDAQ, and it did pretty much the same thing, guys. You can see the lower low was made, no volume. We had divergence everywhere, same thing. We didn't mark that one up, so we're not going to dive into it. I believe we did mark up this, so yes, we did. And this is probably about to slide straight up into this area. I did not even see that happen today. Okay, so the Dow's pretty similar. You know, it did make a lower low with low volume. And then when we had this little doji candle, which made more volume than we've seen in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like just as much volume on this candle as we had on this candle. So that was a big sign that this is probably going to come up. On the 4-hour, you can see this candle here had extreme volume and it didn't do much. So that's kind of one of the clues. And then when you get this move out, that's kind of when you know, okay, the next move, low volume pullback, we get a move out. It's kind of a perfect signature. And then we had 3-wave divergence, which is my other favorite type of divergence to look for. When the market pumps 3 waves down and each momentum wave decreases, that's a very good high probability trade. And you can see 1, 2, 3, and then the momentum didn't pump at all. So that's just a very good sign. And then you get the high volume spike. You get a break of structure. Everything kind of happened really clean right there for a nice move to the upside if you were patient, right? Here was another opportunity. It moved up. It did come back, and it was a clean spot, but it ultimately failed. This was kind of like the really big Wyckoff winner, if you want to look at it that way. Now the market is heavily imbalanced, and the point of control stayed all the way down here. So that's very interesting. What that's telling me is that if the market can come into another area and find balance, I will be looking for it to come back down into this level. But it needs to balance out first. And it's kind of just too bullish. It needs to kind of find some balance. And we'll look at that on the weekly analysis. But this is a very interesting imbalanced area down here. Bitcoin. So this one is awesome because this one hit all of the levels that we were looking for it to hit. And then it just made a huge move to the downside. So let's look at this on the 15-minute, because we'll get to kind of look at the daily candles at this point. So the week closed right here. And so we were just kind of looking at it like this. Let's go here. This is what we got to look at last Friday. And it was very similar to what I said about the S&P just now, right? It's imbalanced. There's this point of control sitting up here that hasn't been tapped yet, or that the market just fell out of and it hasn't tapped into yet. So when we went to the 15-minute, this was the daily candle that has the point of control as well. There was a little bit of volume sitting here, and then we noted that there's still a lot of volume way down here that we are kind of saying maybe this fib that we've drawn is a little bit risky per se. So, but nonetheless, we were looking for the market to come up into all these volume levels and then drop down. And that's exactly what happened. It actually opened up with a gap. And then let's see if there was an opportunity here, because we did call this trade in the next wave channel, but the premium channel. A shout out to AB. So we have a move up. The momentum's here. We need to, okay, so you can see that it just flew right up into the volume level and just said, see it, no thank you. That's what's going to happen a lot of times with these point of controls, to be honest. It's how they work. That's where the volume is. So it was previous orders, basically. It came in, it did create this very like minimal divergence where the market made higher highs, the momentum made equal highs, and the volume was increasing right here. So that was a little bit of a tough trade to try to catch unless you just had an order here. Because the fib I would have played would have been more or less something from a little bit up higher, and this would have only hit like a 61.8 fib. Yeah, barely. The fib we called out on the channel was something like this, and it was a perfect entry, and it ended up, dropping really clean. So, again, shout out to AB on that one. That was a really, really clean trade. And so this ends up making a big move to the downside, and you can see the value is pretty much lower. Still, it makes this move up. This point of control moves here. It gets tapped though, and the value drops, and we sink. All right, and so now we're here basically, and the value is dropping. The value area is the dark shaded area, and so I expect this to continue down. If it doesn't continue down, it's probably going to pop right back up, because this is a level that doesn't have a lot of volume. So, but my next move for this is to probably most likely come down one more time. And if it does have divergence there, we might take a shot for this to maybe snap back and try to hold and create another move similar to this. I think could happen right here. So that's what I'm kind of looking to maybe possibly get into another buy. But until this level gets hit, I'm a little skeptical about the bulls. So, but that's going to be it for this week on Chart Talk. This is, Ethereum's just going to be very similar, right? Very similar patterns going to probably occur on. We have gold as well. Let me hit gold real quick, because gold's actually starting to make this move out of this area that we've been talking about for a while. So here's this falling wedge. You can see on the 4 hour, we've had this divergence here for a while. Finally starting to come out of that. You can see we've been looking for this to break out. It did. We get the breakout, and now we need to see somewhat of a correction. Most likely it's in this area where it's starting to just move without correcting, and gold does that a lot, I guess. More or less. But now I'm starting to see a little bit of divergence. The weekly point of control was hit. Last week market closed here and the point of control was way up here, and that's why I was looking for this to come up, because it was so imbalanced. And now that it's here, it's starting to look like it could just continue to come up almost. I would like to see it come back down here, test this low value area, and then move up, but I don't know if we're going to get that. Gold is looking it's looking more bullish than usual. Silver, the comparison, I like to just use them, to compare each other to, one another. I don't really trade silver much. When I look at the two, silver looks a little bit more corrective than gold. Obviously gold has still been downtrending, but I'm trying to see when it's going to switch this trend a little bit. Silver just is telling me maybe we have a shot to come balance out last week's imbalanced price action. So I do want to check the bonds, because I've been saying these things are going to hit 5%, and they're almost there. So let's look at that real quick, see if there's any divergence coming in. This monthly candle is going to show a lot. Yeah, so that's not necessarily a turnaround candle, and it's starting to look like this little period right here was just a pause, and we're going to get another jolt, which is very not good for the economy. Okay, this is what I'm starting to see finally, and this is what I've been saying for the longest time at this point, because there's no telling when this is going to turn around, but it needs to have a sign before it turns around, right? It's got to give me something. When this turns around, that's when I think the stock market has a chance to go bullish again. And so what I'm seeing now is I'm starting to see the bonds start to go and make new highs while the stock market is not making new lows. That's showing strength in the stock market. And what I'm seeing here is weakness coming in to the bonds. And eventually what you're going to start to hear is people that never talk about the bond market talk about the bond market. You're going to hear, I don't know, even like people that you think know a lot about investing, or like, Kevin O'Leary's of the world and stuff. They are just like, they're commercial investors. They hear from other people and then they invest. Okay. What you're going to start hearing is people investing into the bond market now. Okay. Now they are going to start investing when they should have started investing way back here, which one thing I will note is that when the crypto market starts to look like this again, that's when it's going to be the time to buy, and it's going to be ugly. But now when people start to want to buy now in the bond market, that's going to be one of your clues that the top is in, or it's getting close. It might not be in yet, but it's getting close. That divergence is there on the weekly. The number I think it's going to get to before it like has a chance to turn around is, let's see here, 5.4. I think it's going to get all the way to 5.4. And I think the 10-year is going to get to up to 5, basically. And then that's when we're going to see a turnaround. And this is a genuinely classic divergence where you have, it's like a head and shoulders divergence almost, where you have a wave here, you have a wave higher, which you should get as the market makes a new wave up, and then the market will make a new wave up higher, but the momentum won't, and you will get a classic head and shoulders in your oscillator. And the price action will make a new high. And then at that point, the momentum's going to slow down. Everyone's going to buy into the market. And that's going to be the liquidity for the smart money who bought down here to sell off because they need a bunch of people to buy so they can sell. And then we'll probably see this start to shift. It can't go up like this forever. And if it does make another move, in that's just going to send the S&Ps to levels we haven't seen in a long time. So that's going to be it for Chart Talk tonight. Quick episode. I had a little bit of family stuff I had to take care of tonight, guys, but we didn't want to miss it. We've gone 41 episodes straight, so please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. We're trying to get to 300 followers, and we're trying to get to 4, 5, 6, 7, 800. But yeah, we want to make this channel a channel where every single day, no matter what, traders can come to, and they can have 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours of education, of some realness in the market, not just some edited video and pick your poison type stuff. I'm more of a live analyst. I like doing this stuff live. I like sharing everything that I'm seeing live. I feel like I can do it fast enough to where I don't need to edit everything. So it does take time. It is Friday night it's 10:30 on a Friday night. I'm about to have to go pick up my sister in the airport, so I'm trying to do all this stuff, and just appreciate the likes, guys, and it would help out the algo. So again, y'all have a good night, and we will see y'all tomorrow on the crypto edition, where we're gonna dive super deep into the crypto market, where these cryptos be making me so emotional. If you don't get emotional trading crypto, you're like a stone cold killer. All right. Hey, my boy Mike. Miss you, dog. Appreciate you. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.